Hello and welcome to my witchy vlog for the evening. Today I wanted to talk about a couple things that came up. This is a little bit more on the business side of witchiness, and you can see my cat Corey walking around in the background. I'm sure he'll make an appearance again. I posted today, for those of you, since I've done a few videos regarding my flying ointments, that Etsy decided to remove them. Well, all but 4 of them. So the only ones that are still available on Etsy are the ones that contain wormwood, mugwort, and blue lotus. So why did they do this? Well, first of all, at least in the United States, herbs like Belladonna, Datura, mandrake root, I think flag are all perfectly legal to buy, grow, use, and whatnot. Because you know what? I buy them all online. So, and the police aren't knocking at my door arresting me for, growing a bunch of opium poppy on my porch. They haven't bloomed yet, but, whatever. So, in a lot of cases, platforms like Etsy and Amazon Handmade make some of their own rules, and they classify certain things in ways in which don't exactly make sense, but I guess they do it for their own liability issues. But basically they look at things like that, like, oh, this is a product meant to get you high. So they look at certain things like, I even ran into this on Amazon Handmade because I had an incense blend that had Damiana in it, and they classify Damiana as a synthetic cannabinoid. So they're putting some of these herbs in the same classification as like a CBD oil or cannabis products or things like that, even though they're not. And they're perfectly legal to buy. You can buy Damiana in your local herb store by the pound if you want. So, and the same with a lot of these other herbs. So there's a lot of misunderstandings about this, and it's often hard to explain some of these things to the various people in product customer service and or product safety management and things of that nature at these companies, and I've learned to just not even bother at this point. So that being said, my flying ointments still are available on my website, belladonnasbotanicals.com. I probably will release new ones over time, but they're really only going to be available on my own personal website and not Etsy. So basically, they prohibit the sale of toxic plant products and things like that. Although, I can buy Belladonna seeds and plant my own Belladonna on Etsy. I can buy Datura seeds. I can buy maybe mandrake root seeds. I don't know if I've seen them or not. Definitely seen some henbane seeds on there. I've bought Datura through Etsy before. So their policing isn't always on point or accurate. I think the volume of sales that I've had probably spiked a little bit of further investigation into that, unless someone reported them or whatever, but I think they probably noticed it just based on the volume of sales I've had in the past month or so. Because I've had them listed for a few months now, so yeah. So anyways, and Amazon has very similar policies and things of that nature, as I mentioned with the Damiana issue. And some things, there are legalities in other countries, like Damiana is apparently illegal in Japan. So, there's different things, because different herbs can mimic and have psychoactive effects and things like that. But when the flying ointments that I make, they're not to get you high. It's for spiritual purposes. So there are different ways around things like that. Like ayahuasca is illegal in the United States, but there are churches or ayahuasca churches, so where you can do ayahuasca legally in the United States. So there are some workarounds for things like that. And one of the things that I'm going to be working on, hopefully within the next few days, is I really want to look more into some of the legal issues and things like that with looking at some of these entheogenic herbs and stuff. Because someone had asked me, like, would any of this stuff come up on like a drug screen? I'm like, I hadn't thought about that. Like if you use a couple of my blends use like poppy seeds or poppy flowers. Now I've heard people like, if they have like a poppy seed bagel before they have a drug test, they might test positive for opiates, but it's a very minimal risk because you're not consuming them, and they've infused in an oil and are blended with other things and carrier oils and beeswax. So I think the risk would be very minimal, but I do want to look into that. And I also want to look kind of at the legalities at other countries as well. Because there are some things that, like I said, one of the other issues I had, and this one I spent several months trying to rectify with Amazon. So these are little aromatherapy inhalers that I make. So I'll scooch up a little closer. So you take the cap off, and if I can get this open, so there's a little glass tube with a cotton wick. You put essential oils on. You put the top back on. And you have that. So, these can be used for like stress relief and various things like that. So basically what you do is, it's like a sniff stick, for lack of a better term. But you smell it. Amazon classifies these in the same way that they classify vaping devices. Now, I vape. Much different. This is something I'm actually inhaling. I spent months trying to explain to them that these two things are different. I gave them every piece of evidence I could possibly prove that these are different. And after 3 months of fighting and trying and talking to a million different people who swore they got it through product safety and all that, I still couldn't prove that these two things were different. So Amazon and Etsy don't always know what the fuck they're talking about. But I digress. So, as I was mentioning before I got sidetracked with the aromatherapy inhalers, is, one of the things I do want to look into is going a little deeper into looking at the different types of herbs and some of these implications, because obviously places are making judgment calls and assumptions on things that, if you smoke Damiana or you burn Damiana incense, you could get high from it, so therefore it's the same thing as a cannabinoid. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not. So, and I realize part of it as a company, they want to cover their asses and liability and whatnot, because, if someone, had an issue or whatever, and, they could sue Amazon as well as the creator of the product. And the thing I also want to point out about Amazon and the aromatherapy inhalers is there's plenty of companies that sell aromatherapy inhalers on Amazon, and still pointing the links out to them, and the fact that they not only sell these very same tubes and essential oils, that somehow putting an essential oil in this tube makes it a vaping device. This is what I have to go through sometimes as a witchy product creator. Very strange issues. So yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about first. Second thing I want to talk about is one, it kind of fits this in a little bit, not only as a witchy business owner and herbalist and things like that, is, my commitment to sustainability. And that's something that's very important to me, personally and professionally. And, with that comes certain, issues and responsibilities. Like, I'm not going to get the cheapest grade plastic bottles that I can find. While that might keep the prices down on things, I get the PET, BPH free, whatever the type of safe plastic bottles that aren't going to leach chemicals from them, for the products I use that I put into plastic bottles. I would love to use glass for everything, but there's sometimes also that it's going to be more expensive. It's going to raise the shipping costs because of the weight. So some places don't recycle glass as much as they recycle plastic and metal and things of that nature. So, that's another concern there as well. And, I'm committed, in my packaging, and I've had to adapt and evolve with some of this over time, because, like, for instance, like with the soaps and shampoo bars I make, I used to use like craft paper, cardboard boxes for them that had a little hole cut out that you could, sort of see what it smelled like. I did that until I did my first outdoor event festival on a very windy, pollen-filled spring day, and everything was covered in pollen and miscellaneous tree funk. So I was like, okay, we have to find another solution for this. So now I shrink wrap them. I don't like to use the plastic shrink wrap, but as far as waste goes, it's very minimal per product. So I'm looking at how I can, as my business grows, what I'm putting out there in the world, that it's recyclable in the first place, whether it's in a glass or plastic bottle or something like that, so that the amount of things that have to be thrown out is minimal. So with the packaging I use when I ship products out, now I have to use bubble mailers just for the extra padding, but all of the boxes are cardboard. I use the paper shreddy things and tissue paper and things like that. So at least they're biodegradable or recyclable, or even reusable in some cases. I'll be the first to admit, I always save the bubble wrap that comes with things. I have boxes of bubble wrap in my basement. I haven't been using it as much lately, but, that's something that is just important to me. And, I've been personally and professionally at my former day job and my current day job, involved with sustainability committees, for reducing energy consumption, increasing recycling, looking at using sustainable packaging and things like, at my previous job, we were still using like styrofoam containers and things like that in the cafeteria and stuff. So moving to using the biodegradable things and sustainable types of methodologies, and like looking at when they had to get, the new HVAC system, or when switching to the CFL light bulbs and things like that, or all the programmable, like in the hallways and stuff like that, the lights would dim if no one was walking through the hallways, so the light wasn't constantly blasting and things like that. So looking at different things like that, because, as an herbalist, as a sort of earthy witch in a lot of ways, that I work with all these materials and things like that, is, I don't know, the planet's kind of important to me. I live here. It's where I keep all my stuff. And, it's about creating a legacy, and the things that I see in the world today is like, with the different, and not to get political about it, but, when I see, politicians who clearly do not give a shit about the environment that they're going to leave behind for even their own legacies, their own grandchildren and great-grandchildren, it's just disgusting, And that's something that's important to me. And yeah, like some of these things are very micro, personal recycling. But I mean, I run a small business out of my house. And, we are in, I don't even know how many days into the coronavirus quarantine we're in. But since the beginning of March, and we're now at May 9th or 10th. I'm not sure what time it is, so it might be the 10th if it's after midnight. I've sold over 1,000 products out of my house. So when you buy things in bulk and you have supplies shipped to you every day, the amount of waste I produce as an individual is very minimal. Outside of cat litter and things that can't be recycled, I have tons of shipping boxes from, when you order gallons of oils and, pallets of boxes and things like that, and all these different packaging materials, they come in boxes. They come with packing materials. I have to do something with that. I can't keep it all, so I have to, break down the boxes and recycle them. Or once I run out of, a gallon of this or a gallon of that stuff takes up room. I have two 32-gallon recycling bins, and that's almost not even enough. And with the volume at which now my business is growing, and that this is in a residence in an urban neighborhood of row homes and stuff like that, I'm sure my neighbors do not particularly care for finding my Amazon boxes in their, in their yards on windy days. Because it's been hella windy this spring in Philadelphia. So, those are things I'm concerned about. I compost I obviously, as I live in a city row home, I can't, do a lot of composting, but I do have one of those little rotating ones in my backyard. So I do try to compost as much as I can, with food waste that can be composted that won't attract icky things. With some of the herbs I use, after I do like an infusion, as long as there's nothing toxic in there. Because I don't want that, anyways. But, I'll shred paper and things like that. So it's the little things that we do. One of the things I was looking at doing before the COVID outbreak and all the quarantine stuff happened is in Philadelphia, the city runs a program where you can get like a free rain barrel for your house. So that was something I was looking into and it's kind of on hold for now. But, there's just little things that we can do as individuals, but that collectively, okay, the impact of one person might not be that massive, but if all of us are doing these things, the impact becomes greater. So that's something that's important to me as a business owner, as a witchy poo, and as a human. I like this planet. It's where I keep my stuff. It's about giving back and the legacy that we're leaving for the generations that will come after us. I don't want my niece and nephew and stuff like that to grow up in a crappy, polluted world of whatever. Maybe we'll have shorefront property in Philadelphia in 50 years. I don't know. But, the environment's kind of important. The planet's important. We might be all different, but we all live in the same place. It's called Earth. So anyways, I just want to thank all my supporters and all the people who have purchased said 1,000+ products from me in the past since March during quarantine. You guys have kept me quite busy. I love it. I will have some new products coming out soon, so I'll keep everyone updated on that. Being a creator in quarantine has been an interesting experience. I think I posted another vlog about that a few weeks ago. Time is a little nebulous right now. So could have been last week, could have been a year ago. I don't know. But anyways, oh, and I bought this really cool little, this was a gift to myself. I got this cute little ritual robe, which I love because now I can make videos and not have to brush my hair. I wanted to get a cute little ritual robe. This one's about knee length. I didn't want to get one of the floor length ones because I don't want to set myself on fire, although the sleeves are a little drapey. But I was a goth. I know how to deal with sleeves like these. And if all else fails, you just kind of wrap them around and tuck it in and fire safety! Woo! But anyways, thank you again for watching my vlog. Thank you to my Patreon supporters and all my wonderful, wonderful friends and family and everyone watching this video. I love you all. Good night.